technology in the age of awakening. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. It was interesting because I think it said technology in the age of awareness. So I think it said that on the newspaper.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I meant to say technology in the age of awakening, but it's kind of like the same thing anyway. And I also wanted to connect that with this thing that we call the apocalypse. So there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot of major change happening. This particular time, there is so much unfolding, and a lot of prophecies have suggested that something was going to happen at this time of novelty. And it's been called many things this particular time. It's been called the apocalypse. Just going to wait for everybody to have a little seat there.
Thank you.
Right on. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hey. So I want to talk about technology in Age of Awakening. So technology means many different things. Technology is like a tool. It's there to help us, assist us in some way to wake up or to help us in some need that we have. So we're in this age that many cultures and many people have called the awakening, the apocalypse. It's been called Armageddon, Judgment Day. It's been called so many different things this time, and it often has like this negative stigma to it, as far as the old biblical way of thinking about it. Well, it's interesting. This age of like Judgment Day. It's really quite amazing because the awakening process is really powerful, because right now for the last 5,000 years we've been in this age we call like the Dark Age. So it's been I know that in the Vedic and the Chinese calendar they talk about these grand cycles, the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, and then we have this Satya Yuga, this awakening. So yeah, we're in this like amazing awakening process. But for so long, for about 5,000 years, we've been in this time of forgetting. And the Dark Age has been called the Age of Forgetting as well. So at one point, we were in this Age of Enlightenment, and people associate the idea of Atlantis, which was at the time when there was all these incredibly evolved cultures around the world. And there's a lot of evidence to that. We're getting a new timeline right now as far as cultures all around the world. Anywhere from 30,000 years ago to about 12,000 years ago, there was this time that was called in the Vedic cultures and the Chinese cultures this Age of Enlightenment, right? The Golden Age. Well, we fell into this Dark Age, so it's been called the Fall. And it's like the Age of Forgetting. It's like, okay, we forget who we really are. We forget what we're here for. But now we're moving back into the Age of Awakening, which basically means all of that knowledge and all that information that was hidden from us is now being revealed. And so that's what apocalypse means. Apocalypse means essentially what is hidden is now revealed. So I really like that definition, and usually people say, oh, the apocalypse, and it's like, there's lots of movies on Hollywood about apocalypse. It's like everybody's getting killed and the demons are coming down and stuff like that. But it's a really interesting thing. When you think about the pyramid of power that we've been in for that long, it's been this kind of like Dark Age, masculine age of like manipulation and control, where we have this big pyramid. Everybody knows this pyramid of power. Sometimes it's associated with the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. And when you look at this pyramid, you have like all of the kings and the controllers right at the top, and then at the very bottom you have all the peasants and the farmers and the people who are doing the work, the slaves, right? So that's been the idea, that's been kind of the illusion. And it's really quite interesting as well that we're not really at the bottom of the pyramid. It's only in our beliefs that we're in the bottom of the pyramid. So now we're realizing, like it said, it's interesting in the Thomas Gospel, they said, oh, well, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is here now. It's just that people don't see it. So I believe that that's the truth. We all have access to infinite knowledge. And whether we choose to have access to that or not is up to us. So we're in the time where the pyramid is flipping. And one of the technologies that we're seeing now, we call the internet. So internet is a technology. There's many technologies. So I want to talk about some of these technologies. So technologies, the printing press, that's a technology. Psychotropic drugs is a technology. There's all of these tools available to us on the planet right now that can assist us. Now, technology can be used for good or bad. And so some people will use it for if they have a pre-existing psychological condition of manipulation and harm, they can use it for that as well. So when we think about it, this field that we call the unconscious field, there's a whole part of us that's mostly considered the unconscious or the shadow. So the shadow is seemed to have control for a long time. Now, I like to take a little bit from Carl Jung, because what Carl Jung said that in our shadow is also our treasure. So we've been hidden from ourselves, and we've been like manipulated in this pyramid of power, but the pyramid is flipping. And what is really truly amazing is what the internet is revealing to us right now. So I'm just going to give you some examples. I put together the slideshow, and I don't know if this is going to work out, but we'll just see. I just sort of threw all this together, and I tried to prepare for this presentation, and it usually works out that I have all these slides and nice little pictures, because everybody loves little pictures. But so one of the pictures that I really love is this pyramid of power. So I like to visualize this pyramid flipping upside down. So in the Mayan calendar, they've talked about this age of awakening as well. And in the Mayan calendar, it's been prophesized that our whole solar system is moving into this age, this time where the galactic energy is going to be hitting us at a very high rate. And so it's really remarkable here what's going on. So yeah, I said technologies can be misused. Here's some different technologies that are available to us. And I like to associate technologies with nature. Now, I said psychoactive substances can be a technology. Why not? And I'm going to go back to the Mayan prophecies. In the Mayan calendar, one of the ideas is that the corporate elite now lose control because we're entering this age of transparency. So the age of transparency is sort of like all of our thoughts are no longer hidden. They're now on the surface. So in other words, if you have like shadowy thoughts and you want to control other people, that dark shadow has lurked around in our consciousness for a long time. But now, because of all of the things that are happening as far as technologies, internet, what's going on in the galactic core, what's going on with the sun, so all of these different elements are bringing a lot of energy to us so that our shadows are becoming exposed. You've heard of these palladium channelings. Anybody heard of this before? Like the palladium channelings? Is that Barbara Marciniak? Mm-hmm. One of the things that they were saying in one of the books was, and then Seth speaks too, right? Is that we're moving into this next dimension, which has been called fourth density. It's also been called the fifth dimension, where our thoughts become manifest quicker. So as before in the age of the shadow, we could get away with having thoughts and there would be this delay. Like we want to harm other people, we kill other people. We do things and we don't realize that there's a cause and effect. But in this dark age, there's been this delay between cause and effect, it seems. And so we're entering this age of novelty, it's been called many things, where our thoughts become manifest a lot quicker. And so this is I'm associating this with the age of transparency, where all of these forces around us in nature are conspiring to bring things to our awareness. And back to Carl Jung, one of the things, he wrote a whole book on something called synchronicity and acausal connecting principle. And he coined the term synchronicity, and when he talked about acausal connecting principle, one of the things he said is that when an unconscious condition, or when something in our shadow isn't made conscious, the outside world conspires to bring it to us, to bring it to our attention as destiny. So I might be paraphrasing some of that, but I remember reading this amazing thing where he said, yeah, when an unconscious condition isn't made manifest or isn't made conscious, the universe will conspire to bring that thing to our attention. So for a long time there's been this conspiracy, and a lot of people talk about the darker conspiracies, and we're talking about that pyramid of power where like we don't have any control. Well, it's actually kind of the opposite. When you really study quantum physics and you look at what Carl Jung researched, and when you look at what's going on, when you look at the internet, when you look at the Mayan calendar, when you look at the Chinese calendars, it's like, okay, what it actually is there's a conspiracy of awakening. And technology is assisting us in that conspiracy. And the technologies that we have now have basically come out of a need from our unconscious and a conspiracy to bring certain things to our attention. So the internet as a tool, as an example, is there. You can see it as being there to bring certain things to our attention. Many examples would be the internet is helping us realize that we're all one. And why that pyramid of power can't exist anymore is because during our awakening, you can't control and manipulate other people. People are getting their information right from the source instead of through some authority. And we needed authorities because, see, I'm just interpreting this, so this is only my opinion, but the authority was needed because we're afraid of how powerful we are. Being afraid of how powerful we are, it's like we are magnificent beings of light, and that bright light is like, oh my God, I can't handle that, so I'm going to pretend. So I'm going to pretend that I'm not fully conscious. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a victim. And now I'm going to go back. I keep going back to the Mayan calendar because these are all examples. They're all metaphors. All of these ancient prophecies, like the Hopi prophecies, are all metaphors. There's been many predictions of the internet through channelings, and one example was the Hopi elders that talked about the interconnecting wires that will someday, all of these interconnecting wires will connect us all to realize that we're all one again. So it seems to be this grand cycle, and why we forget is because it's part of I feel like it's part of this night and day thing. We have this daytime, nighttime, we have light and we have dark, we have these opposites. So in this field of opposites, we go through this cycle, and it's more like this cycle, night and day, the fool, and then the awakened one. That's like the grand cycle that we're going through, where we're in the age of darkness, and we're coming back into the age of awakening, But the reason we go into the dark age, I believe, is because we need to go through a spiritual awakening process by forgetting so that we can remember again. And I don't see it as this cycle like this, I see it as a spiral. Yeah. So now the conspiracy is all of these technologies. And we asked for these technologies, and they're here now, and I would love to talk about them because it's one of the things that I'm so attracted to in my life, is just attracted to all these amazing technologies that can really help us evolve. And one of them is the internet, and that's something I'm very excited about. So the technologies that come from the internet are like social networking. Now I've got a whole timeline of what's happened in the last 1,000 years, but what's most interesting is what happened in the last 100 years and in the last 20 years. So more and more, our consciousness is accelerating. Terence McKenna called it time wave zero, where he said that based on all of the historical events that have woken us up, that have made us more aware and more conscious, have been accelerating. So little triggers have woken us up more and more and more. And the internet, World Wide Web, started like 1990, has been a force that has connected us together, and many of the things that are revealed are social networking, smartphones, all of these devices that connect us together so that we have access to more information. Now, I believe that any of these tools, any really truly good tool, will render itself obsolete so that you don't need it anymore. Because what good is a tool if you become dependent on it? What good is a teacher if you need the teacher all the time? Any good teacher or any good tool is, the good teacher will teach the student how not to need the teacher and how to learn on their own. Well, that's what a good technology tool is as well. So the internet, I'm noticing a lot of things where we are getting access to knowledge that we already inherently knew deep down inside. Children who were born before the internet, they want to know about quantum physics. They ask questions to their chemistry teacher, and they get these really boring answers most of the time, like I did when I was in high school. Nobody talked about the observer effect. They didn't talk about a lot of things that were really important. In biology class, well, they never talked about a lot of things that are now revealed about how consciousness and about how our belief systems are affecting our epigenetics, are basically affecting the way that our genes express themselves. So now that we have the internet, children who are being born in this age, they're like, okay, what is quantum physics? Tell me, what is the observer effect? And they'll go on the internet and they'll be able to learn directly. Whereas when I was in high school, I didn't have that connection, although I felt it inside. And I know a lot of us, when we're born, we inherently know all of these things. We know about morphic resonance. Now, morphic resonance is something we've discovered. Sheldrake discovered it and proved the existence of this morphic resonance in the 80s. But before that, we were still in this scientific, mechanical, westernized kind of masculine kind of mechanical way of thinking. But the more we discover these technologies and these tools, and the more we wake up. So now we can see there's access to information like never before. So more and more we have direct access to real information that we want. And that is so exciting. So we haven't seen the effect of it because it's been so recent. The internet is so recent. So it'll be really exciting to see what's happening. And already there are technologies, and I've used a technology that connected my brain to a computer so that I could move objects. And that was like 10 years ago. My friends had this brain gear that measures different states of brainwaves. So changing your brainwave state moves an object on the screen. And I was able to move an object up and down, and I have no idea how I was doing it. And that was like 10 years ago. So right now there's much better technologies. So other technologies that are coming from the internet and are coming from computers are heart interface. So we can interface our heart directly onto a computer. I know that the Heart Math Institute uses devices that do that. I've used them before. Has anybody used the Heart Math device? You've got one of those? So with the Heart Math device, what do we call this? EM wave?
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this particular device, you attach it to your ear or to your finger, and it actually measures your heart beat, but not only your heart beat, but your heart coherence. Now, when you're in a really centered, calm state of being, your heart rate becomes more smooth. Each heartbeat becomes more coherent, more similar. Coherent means it's more in phase, it's not jagged. And I remember using this thing, and when you're in a deep meditative state, your score goes up. So you got to go to a more advanced level. So there are games like that as well. Deepak Chopra worked on a game in the 90s, late 90s. I believe it was called Wild Divine, and it had the heart interface as well. And then galvanic skin response. So like, typically when you're stressed, your galvanic skin response goes up, your electrical conductivity, and so your heart rate starts beating too when you're stressed. So in this particular game, you have to meditate to finish the game. And it's all about being calm under stress. Well, this HeartMath device, you can actually see your thoughts. If you have a fear thought, you actually see your score start to go down. So more and more we're seeing devices that are connected with our consciousness. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. And we're able to see the effect of group meditation as well. So I know that the HeartMath Institute is working on connecting everybody together, and they've done experiments where people have meditated and they've been able to, bring people's coherence levels up, their aura increases. Pretty amazing stuff. So other devices that come from the internet would be the smartphone. And so many people have a smartphone. Yeah, I think most young people in the Western world have a smartphone, and even in the East. So how many people have a smartphone? Okay, a little more than half of people. So the smartphone, it's connecting us all in ways that we never imagined. Now we have these apps that are like really incredible, that bring us all together. Like now we can look at Twitter, and when something happens, everybody's got like video cameras, and it's all being broadcast on the internet. So whereas before, in the shadowy age of control, it was easy to manipulate. The whole propaganda system worked really well as far as manipulating thought and steering an agenda. Well, when you have everybody connecting together on the grassroots level, that pyramid flips, so that the access to information is coming from the grassroots level, not from a top-down authority level, which is completely changing everything at this point, where a lot of these high-level conspiracies have been exposed right away so that they weren't able to, it wouldn't work. Like, I think it was 96, an F-14 shot down a passenger plane near Florida. And that was exposed on the internet at that time, to the point where the regurgitated story that they wanted the public to believe was obviously false. So that was just one example. And then we have the Arab Spring, of course, where 15 countries rebel against their governments because the grassroots level had more access to knowledge. Now, let's talk about the good and the bad, because I know a lot of people are afraid or are suspicious of technology and the internet, and maybe are afraid that the internet could be a bad thing. So, who here has a fear of technology? Okay. So, I'm really curious, what is your fear?
Well, I just can't grasp it. I can't understand it, and I push a button, and then something comes up that I didn't really want to have come up.
Right.
And I don't really get the connection. I keep
Okay.
saying I wasn't raised with it.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Right, okay, I understand. Well, some people are, I know, afraid of technology because they believe that it's going to somehow distract people and take them into a dark path. Well, that's certainly possible because, but I see more positive coming from these technologies than negative, and I believe that they're here at the exact right timing. Now, these technologies, they give us access to higher knowledge, to more information, to things that we're probably not ready for before.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much being revealed right now because of these tools that couldn't have been revealed. Every single field in our society is changing due to technology. So the internet is changing the way that education is done. People are doing online courses, and people are getting access to teachers they couldn't have access to before. Online universities. The financial system is changing. There's like Bitcoin and there's all these other systems. All these technologies are setting a new groundwork that we can't yet see where it's going to go, but it's almost like even gardening. When you look at gardening, see what's happening. People want to learn how to do high density gardening. Well, people are going on the internet and they're creating incredible gardens. They've been able to plant more fruit in a smaller space than ever before, and all of these people who really want knowledge will get access to it through the internet. It's not like you have to go to a library and look up books, and no, it's like quick, you get access to it. So now in Detroit, all these people are looking up on the internet how to create these amazing greenhouses. And so I don't know if you know about this, but Detroit's an example of a city that has decided that they're going to work on the grassroots level and start building their own infrastructure as far as gardening. And there's a couple of documentaries about that. So that's a small example. People in Africa, in small villages, are going on the internet learning how to create energy devices. And one kid, he went into the landfill site in some extremely poor African country, went on the internet, learned how to build these devices, and he went into the garbage, into the landfill, and he built these pumps that supplied his entire town with electricity, just as a kid. And how would he have done that if he didn't have access to the internet and all of that knowledge? So, yeah.
I own a smartphone, an iPad,
Yeah.
2 computers,
Yeah,
and I can't live without them.
right.
But,
No, yeah, right.
but there's this flip side of technology that you mentioned.
Right,
I used to be on Facebook, I blocked it out
right.
because of identity theft.
Uh-huh,
Somebody took my identity
uh-huh,
and my credit card,
right,
and was buying plane tickets in France and I don't know what.
right,
And I got this bill one day which just about
right,
knocked me over.
right.
So I grant you that the technology has brought a wonderful number of benefits.
Yes,
But there's this flip side,
there is a flip side.
this evil side.
Yeah, well, that's
that people have
that's
to be
right.
very
Well, that's
careful.
well, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine that in a much darker age, like when Nikola Tesla was working on plasma weapons, can you imagine if the wrong people suddenly had access to that in this dark age of extreme brutality? I believe the technologies are coming at the right time, and because there's a higher level order, our higher selves, so much of our power seemed to be in the unconscious realm, but now it's becoming more conscious, and these technologies are bringing certain abilities to our attention at the right rate. If I'm just using Nikola Tesla's plasma weapon as an example, or other technologies, if technologies were revealed too soon, they would have a far more destructive power than would be helpful. And so, yeah, sure, it would be really, really nice if that technology was available, so we had free energy devices at that time. But I feel like we weren't spiritually ready, just as we can see the dark side. When you talk about the dark side, some people go on the internet, and you have to be ready, because one of the most important things that we need to realize now is that our unconscious thoughts, our fears, have had so much more power than our conscious thoughts. And so our unconscious fears can definitely project into the outside world whatever we're looking for. If we have like issues, and deep dark shadow issues, and we don't confront them, then we certainly will use the tools to reflect those fears. and get us into more trouble. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Now, one of the things that I remember from Carl Jung was that he said, your demons are really your angels. As long as you're afraid, then the shadow has power over you, the shadow. But as soon as you look at your demons, you confront your fears head on, then they're really your angels. So your demons are really your angels. And so your use of technology has to come from a spiritual place. It has to come from a good intention. And I know that we're reaching this place of good intention. Since all of these different cultures have predicted that we're moving into a time of awakening, age of transparency, and I like to say age of transparency means flipping the pyramid. Everybody's going to have access to knowledge. Secret societies were formed sometimes so that they could keep the knowledge from the powers that be. And a lot of these secret societies were holding on to information that's now common ground. It's common. And so there's a dark side and a good side. I'm like going all over the place here because I'm just trying to wrap it all together.
I want to throw in, I don't remember if it's unity or science of mind or whatever, but what you fear or revere is about to appear.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you've been saying for the last 5 minutes.
That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying in so many different ways. I'm trying to say that.
Yes.
You fear to what? Say that again.
What you fear or revere is about to appear. We manifest our own.
That's right. Like if you're a paranoid, you're really paranoid, then then certainly what you're putting so much energy into that fear that's what you're gonna see. Those are your goggles, right? You got those fear goggles. So all you're gonna see is fearful things. I'm really grateful and I'm really lucky because I got initiated into with a technology that's controversial still. I don't know why it's so controversial, but the technology is called psychotropic drugs. So I am very, very grateful that I happened to be in a good setting when I first did LSD, because what LSD revealed was what I had already known, but it was revealed to me when I was young, and it helped me to see directly that all my thoughts instantly become manifest. So it was really quite remarkable, but it was extremely difficult. It was difficult. In one place it was like ecstasy and bliss, but then I could see how my unconscious fears that weren't even mine, these belief systems that weren't even mine, I don't even know where I got them, they're like viruses. So I could see these, and they were coming from my culture. And I know that we all have these deep down in our DNA, a lot of these thoughts that we haven't questioned yet. But I noticed how all of my fears were becoming manifest. And I was like, wow, very, very powerful. And I could see my effect on people. And my aura, when I did that, I became incredibly aware of energy. I could see energy, like I could see a vibration around people's fields. And it felt like I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh my God, I am so not ready to know this. So it took me 3 months to come down. It took me 3 months to integrate. And part of that 3-month initiation was actually noticing that my thoughts become manifest. And so that whatever I feel about other people affects them. And I could see it directly. I could see my judgment on other people. I could see it affecting them directly. I was like, wow, that's powerful. And so I came in my heart to realize how important it was just to have good intentions. So that was my initiation into that. Now the way I see these technologies is the same thing. They are tools that enhance our abilities, but the technology is only a reflection of our readiness. I see that. And so the technology is there as a tool. So these are all holographic metaphors. When the Mayan calendar talks about the Milky Way galaxy, which is what their whole Hunab-Ku and that whole system is about connecting up in this grand cycle back to high energy. And the 13 grandmothers also talk about that high energy current. They talk about that great rushing torrent, the great wind. And that's what's so beautiful, is that if we really want to, we can surrender to bliss. We can surrender to the divine conspiracy of love. And the technology is helping us become aware. I want to talk again about the internet and the technologies that come from the internet, the smartphone. So people are, Deepak Chopra was saying once, I remember hearing him saying this, really interesting. He said, when you call somebody on a telephone, that telephone is just an excuse. You're actually making a psychic connection with that person. When you call somebody, yeah, you're talking to somebody, but at the soul level, you've made a psychic connection. You didn't really need the telephone to do that, but that was the excuse. Coming back into that age where all of our gene expressions become unlocked, going back into the time when our pineal gland and our extrasensory perceptions, look at how much ability we have. When you actually look at biology, you start realizing, oh my God, there's so many genes, there's so many abilities that haven't been expressed yet, but they can be. So yeah, we're now entering a time where we can access that. And people are getting these phantom phone calls where their phone starts buzzing, but it's not really ringing. People have told me about this phantom phone ringing thing, and I've had it a couple times. So it's like somebody's thinking about you at that very time your phone is starting to ring. So we're already seeing how our own extrasensory perception is taking the place of the technology, so that the technology doesn't need to be there anymore. If we have full access to our ability, we no longer need that technology. When we have a Skype video conference, at some point we're going to have holographic conferencing with people. And that, again, that mirror neuron effect, in effect, it's helping us regain our abilities. It's like we're remembering our abilities through the internet, what's already there. So soon we're going to have I believe, holographic connections with other people without needing the Skype. And it'll be funny the day when we have these connections, but we forgot to turn on our computer or something, and we realized that we did that without the computer. So I foresee that happening myself. Any comments on that?
Well, we have that already. Well, we know the phone is going to ring the next minute, and so is going to call us.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we already have those abilities, but I believe that these technologies are just revealing them to us that we've forgotten. Now, the next, you have a question?
Well, no, I was just gonna say, well, Rupert Sheldrake studies that
Exactly.
a lot about
Right.
telepathic communication
Yes.
between people and animals and people
Right.
and people, and it's very
Yeah.
exciting what his work is.
So why I believe that this is part of that conspiracy of awakening is that 7 people invented the television at the same time.
Oh.
This is a really interesting thing, and I know that David Wilcock wrote a book called the Source Field Investigations, and I know there's a chapter in the book where he talks about all these inventions that we've had, how people invented the same thing at the same time. The holographic universe idea, that was Carl Prembran and who was that other guy who came up with the, 2 people invented that at the same time. I mean, at least discovered it. So these novelty waves are there at the right time. No, what was?
I had a question. Earlier
Yeah.
you were saying something about how the internet is some way showing us, like normally we stay on the surface and we show only our good side and we kind of have this dark shadow.
Yes.
So how is the internet showing the shadow?
Okay, wow, that's an awesome question. The internet is revealing its shadow in many ways. Well, we can already see like pornography, and that's one example.
Isn't that most traffic on the internet pornography?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the things that we were not ready to face, like we're like, oh, I'm all good and I'm like all about the bliss and the love, but really on the other side is this shadow the shadow Carl Jung said, that what you deny, that what you think is not yours. Now, in the shadow is the treasure. So on the internet, when we look at these dark things, like whatever we think is dark, pornography and videos of killing, there was a plane crash and people are putting all this horrible stuff on the internet of like maimed bodies and stuff, right? I don't know if you've seen that, but I've seen it on my Facebook feed. So a lot of stuff that we didn't want to face would normally be censored, but the fact that it's extremely difficult to censor things means that all these things that were censored are now right in front. All the shadow stuff, as the bubble is popped because of the internet, people's things that they would not normally say face to face, they say it in their little text boxes, in their YouTube comments. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of dark stuff. Normally, the idea of the shadow too is the reason it stays the shadow is because we deny that it exists. We say, oh, that's not me. But because of the internet and because of the shadow being revealed, we have to face our shadow. Well, that's how that's relevant to me, is that the shadow is there, all of the dark stuff is now on the surface, so in order to be loved. And I remember reading this amazing book about relationships that said the mere fact that we have somebody that will unconditionally love us, the mere prospect of that, immediately means that and we're going to reveal our darkest secrets, our shadows. So this is like the same with the internet. It's all being revealed because it's a time of awakening. In order for the vibration, in order for that awakening to happen, that shadow has to emerge and be seen. So that's how I see that. Yeah. Now you said something that was really interesting. Do you remember the last comment you made?
About Rupert Sheldrake,
Yeah, but Rupert Sheldrake.
studying telepathic communication,
Right.
which he is proving scientifically
Right.
that we can
Well, that's right.
communicate with each other in all kinds of
Yes,
ways.
so before they knew what that was called, they called it the 100th monkey principle. There's a
Right.
lot of different names.
Yeah.
But now it's known, which also relates to people inventing the same thing at the same time, is these novelty waves of consciousness are accelerating to infinity. And that's what a lot of these systems were, the prophecies, the channelings, and then the time wave zero was talking about how we infinitely become more aware. There's an acceleration. Moore's law, as far as technology, shows that every 18 months our technology doubles and our abilities double, but that's correlating with our own consciousness. So, and it's amazing how much more we're becoming aware of. The more that we become aware, the more that we become aware. Exponential, Rupert Sheldrake, morphic resonance. You have a loving thought about somebody, they feel it right away. You have a lot of people having a loving thought. You get to this critical mass, and I know that David Hawkins was talking about each level of consciousness that jumps up is something like 100 times more powerful than the previous. So he came up with this law that if 1/10 of 1% of the planet became enlightened, the whole planet would become enlightened just by mere reflection. So I see
I
that.
absolutely agree with you, of course, that we get connected with the internet
Yeah,
and the emails and so on. It's amazing, you know, you just push a few buttons and you're connected with somebody.
right,
That's incredible.
right.
I cannot see how that could raise our consciousness. Like,
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, that like being consciousness.
Right.
I don't know how to say that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that it's a different thing. The computer connects us, yes, but it's still the consciousness that we need to be integrated
Right.
with people.
So it's not exactly, and it's not that the internet is doing that, it's just that the internet is a reflection of where we are. Just as the metaphor of the Mayan calendar going back into being lined up at the center of the Milky Way, and the 13 Grandmothers prophecy, all talking about this wave of energy, that's another reflection. The internet is a reflection. All of these things that we're seeing are merely reflections of our readiness. The fact that we're spiritually awakening now, we can see these tools are both helping us and are also a reflection of where we're at. Yeah.
I've got a few comments. You know, we all know, even quantum physics says that whole universe full of energy, vibrational energies,
Yeah.
right? Which we cannot see, a lot of people cannot see.
Right.
But what I believe is that everybody's gone through many reincarnations, okay? Through every reincarnation, we live in different worlds.
Yeah.
Some are more advanced than here now, far more. So every time you go through the world, you're exposed to experiences. They are all stored in energy forms in the body, in our energy systems.
Yeah.
When you die, this energy system passes on the soul.
Yeah.
So every time you reincarnate, your soul will get more energy of the memories of all the universe you've been living. Okay, so they cannot reveal to us because it's deep down in the soul. But with the internet, other things like increasing vibrations,
Yeah.
meditation, everything,
Yeah.
or drug, you can access to this particular instance,
Right.
and they reveal to us.
Wow. So that's amazing. There's so all of it's interesting because I think all of these soul groups. I think there's so many people on the planet now because so many of these souls, I believe, have had many of these lifetime experiences, and now they're all here because they want to be here for the shift. They're ready. People that are here, I believe, people that are here now are ready. Like it's very exciting, and you know, I'm starting to meet people who remember their past lives, younger people, and we call some of these children indigo children. And I'm meeting some of them, and yeah, they already know, they already know these things. Also, they already know how to use a smartphone, even though they've never seen one.
Yeah, but they had smartphone long time ago in other civilizations.
Exactly, right? Yeah, exactly.
See, I got another comment too. See, some people say, right? You know, you get young guy, young people, they can start to play piano, Tchaikovsky, the whole piano concerto without mistake. Except the stage play is not very good because too young, right? But they say genius, from genius, nothing from gene. It is a past life, they have been a renowned pianist. And all these are stored, right? In the soul, those energy.
Yeah.
So when he's able to access to it, he revealed to him so he can play.
Yeah.
What do you
Some-
mean? Do you mean there have been computers at a
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
So when you start seeing some of these out-of-place artifacts on the internet, they reveal a new timeline that 30,000 years ago there was, between 30,000 and 12,000 years ago, there was certainly technologies that were highly advanced, particularly with the pyramids, which are revealing things that we're now discovering as far as like, maybe the way they had computers in a different way. And
Well, that's still a big question
Yeah,
about
well-
the pyramids, eh? How
yeah, well,
they
that's a
got
big
them.
question, and there's people around here that know, you know, get a real clear idea of what the pyramids were, as far as teleportation devices, energy devices, lasers, that kind of thing. I know David, he gave a talk about that. But yeah, see now, again with the internet, not only are these spiritual technologies being revealed, technologies to do with biology, technologies to do with energy, free energy devices are being discovered. We're now, for so long, that whole idea of corporate elite kept a lot of these energy technologies hidden. 5,000 patents, energy patents a year, are then owned by the Department of Defense for national security reasons. But yeah, but now we're moving to this age where people are saying, no way, let's not patent devices. Let's go into anti-copyright, public domain. Not only that, we have YouTube. So here again, on every level of technology, people are exposing it on the YouTube. That is their defense, that is their protection. Being secretive folds in on itself and you lose your power. In the age of transparency, it means that you don't hide anything. You let your knowledge be free.
Elon Musk, the guy
Yeah.
who developed the
Elon Musk, yes.
Tesla car,
Yeah,
recently put all of the technology that went into that
yes.
on the internet.
Open domain, yeah.
Open domain.
Well, he's like, well, why would we keep this secret? We want the world to be better, don't we? Why do we hold on to these patents? If that's going to help the world, why do that?
We've won the battle with the big corporations because they cannot control that.
Well, that's right, and that is exactly right.
That's a really
Sure trying
important
to.
big step.
Well, that's exactly right. The nature, the universal laws of nature are being revealed. The Fibonacci sequence, the Stargate technology, the star tetrahedron technology, all these technologies that have to do with the toroidal field, all this stuff is now being exposed. And yeah, people are building these devices, free energy devices. What is a free energy device? A tree is a free energy device. It was like, okay, look at the tree. It spirals, the sap spirals through. That gives it positive energy. It doesn't, well anyway, all of these things that we're seeing in nature are now being exposed on the internet. Backyard inventors are now creating these devices, so the internet is going to allow that to go into the mainstream. Once these systems collapse that are no longer serving us, there's all the systems already in place. And you see that when you have a disaster. People get really creative. Look at some of these places where things have gone really bad, like Detroit or like in third world countries. Things have gone really bad. Right on, there's the internet, let's get creative. And so we can see a lot of those new systems are already in place, a new path is being revealed.
Can you imagine these major financial manipulators being somehow undermined so that they no longer rip us off?
Well, that's exactly right, and I have a really good example of that. The Occupy movement and Anonymous worked together to find one of the catches with the Federal Reserve lending system, fractional reserve lending. There's the whole way the financial system works has been kept sort of secret, into the point where only the corporate elite were understanding how they can manipulate the economy, how they can create wars for money, and how they can create virtual money. But the Occupy movement and Anonymous have done a lot of research and find the flaws in the system, and are exposing the flaw, for example, of fractional reserve lending. And what they've done is they've created a system that people are using so that their $200,000 health bill, this system will buy your debt off you for 5 cents on the dollar. So you only end up owing 5,000 or whatever it is. So that's an example. There's many examples of how that whole system is being turned around because of the internet, because of creativity. Yeah, certainly that corporate structure of power can easily be flipped. It just requires creativity. So this is, that
But
creativity is
offshore
working.
accounts are part of the problem, so that's tricky.
The offshore accounts. Well, exactly. The Pentagon tried to create the World Wide Web 2 back after 9/11 in order to try and control the internet. But the thing about the internet is that at that time 60% of the internet was all in Linux systems. People who help with the Linux community have a philosophy that says everybody should have free access to everything. It should be equality, and everything should be free. And so that's what inspired a lot of the Linux systems. And so 60% of the internet was off of that. They try to control this stuff, but these people are smart. They try to shut down YouTube videos. These Anonymous group has already created a server that when it detects that systems have been shut down, a UFO video, it gets shut down. The Soho space satellite, when they started seeing those things coming out of the sun and making right-hand turns that caused all the controversy, they cover that up. But the thing is, these systems had already put that on the internet. So when somebody takes down a YouTube video, it gets repopulated by these servers that Anonymous help create. So even the fact that people are trying to cover things up it makes it more obvious that it's a cover-up. So it's starting to work in the opposite, where cover-ups work in the opposite way. Like exactly with with the whole Julian Assange revealing all these cables. When they say, let's shut him up, let's get, he should be, some of the people within the White House were saying that he should be killed, like blatantly saying that in the media. So, he should be killed and capital punishment for him because he revealed these secrets. But saying stuff like that makes it obvious, the cover-up even more obvious, so it helps. It really helps when they try to shut down. TED Talks is really great. They try to shut down 2 TED Talk videos, right? Rupert Sheldrake, they're like, you can't have your TED Talk video, because he was exposing how science was becoming a religion in the fact that it was becoming rigid and dogmatic. And so he exposed all the flaws of mainstream quantum physics, really well documented. They said, the Skeptic Society said, no way, shut up his video. Well, that obviously made his video more popular. So you try to push down one thing and then a whole bunch will pop up.
Can let's say the Canadian and the U.S. government, can they not, if they wanted to, shut down the internet?
If they tried to shut down, my feeling is if they tried to shut down the internet, it would have completely a backward effect.
I just wondered whether, technologically speaking, they have the power to do so.
It's possible to shut down, yeah, sure. Well, it's possible to shut down all the satellites, then you are dealing with the microwave relay antennas. But even that, the hackers have already figured out a ham radio internet backup system that a lot of people are working on. It'll take a little while to get it established, but it would probably take a month or 2 or something like that.
So they can only do it for a while.
Yeah, well, that's my feeling. There's too many hackers. We're talking about a small few that want to control, where you've got this mass of people who are in the light as far as good intentions, that would certainly come up with something creative to overrule that. That's my feeling.
I think it would be
Hackers are
like,
terrible people.
No, there's 3 kinds of hackers. You have the dark hackers, the dark hat hackers that like to put viruses on your computer
Yeah,
and stuff like that and steal your information and being rude, you know.
yeah.
And then there's the white hat hackers, where there's more of. We're talking about like people like Anonymous that really want, like people who assist in the campaign for bringing transparency to the military, their agendas. Those are hackers.
Like, what do you mean by bringing transparency?
Oh, like Edward Snowden, he works for the NSA. He hacked. Like he said, he effectively hacked. Hack means you're doing something you're not supposed to effectively with that tool. It's something that it wasn't really intended. So he, well, yeah, sure, he hacked and he exposed all of this NSA wiretapping that was clearly not even in phase with the Constitution, right? So that's a good example of a white hat hacker.
What's the third one?
In answer to your comment about shutting
Dan,
down the internet.
What's the third one? You said we-
Oh, the third one.
Who's that?
The third type of hacker is they call the gray hat hacker. He dabbles in the dark and the light. He'll make a virus that spreads to 20,000 computers to take down like Yahoo or something like that, which one guy did, but he's more of a gray hat hacker. He's not really trying to harm anybody, he's just saying, oh, look how powerful I am. But the dark hat hackers are more like the Russian mafia has extremely powerful ability to create rootkits, geniuses, autistic people creating these rootkits to go into your computer, but some of them may get military contracts, right? So that's kind of like dark hat hacker.
What do you say?
About shutting down the internet would be like the Canadian government saying, we're canceling healthcare, there's no more healthcare. Well, there'd be riots in the streets.
Right.
But are there not countries that do control? I mean, in China, I don't think you can get access to
They
things.
try to control.
Oh, I see, yes, you're probably correct. I don't know, even know more than I don't have a clue. Aren't there places that they control a lot?
Yeah, the internet is very much controlled in certain, in the Middle East and also in some places in Asia like China. There's clearly a lot of control. At the same time, if you know a little bit, you know, you just gotta be a little bit smart. The younger people are like, they don't care about that stuff. They figure out a way around it, right? Because they're figuring out all types of ways of routing your IP address and masking your IP address and then going through hack servers to get real access to the internet, covering your tracks. A lot of the best hackers in the world you wouldn't know about because they know how to cover their tracks. And when they get caught, they end up getting hired
That's great about
by the
that.
CIA. Yeah.
That's how that's after the war, the CIA was created with, I think it was 2 or 3 of the top SS officers, and they were given amnesty,
Right.
you know, to create the CIA here in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. That's a whole nother story about how that
And then
happened.
there's a pharmaceutical company that was there were 3 of them big in Europe and one here, owned by the Rothschilds.
Right.
Rothschilds ended up owning all 3 of them after the World War II.
Right.
Rockefeller, was it
The Rockefellers,
Rockefeller,
right,
right. And he ended up owning all 3 of them after, they gave it to him and then he hired the head
Yeah.
director 8 years after his prison to run it,
Right. Yeah.
to run the European section.
Well, it's an amazing, like, man, I would love for somebody to talk about that because in 1947, the National Security Act was in the guise of protecting people, but actually it was a way to keep secrets. Then the military-industrial complex got formed through that hidden secrecy or whatever. So there's a whole thing to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I want to conclude, I want to finish my talk here.
Oh, no.
Anyway, but you know what? But people can make more comments if they want to. I know we have a little bit more time.
Well, why am I so scared of this stupid thing?
Well, a lot of people are scared. Like, I give classes on computers, and I notice that one of the things that stops you from knowing how to use your technology is a fear that hasn't been connected. It's basically a fear of the unknown. And so when you teach people how to use their device, they become more empowered and they're no longer afraid. So certainly at the basic level, you need to find, you know, a way to be in harmony with your technology, learn how to use it.
I should take your class. When is the next one happening?
Oh, I'll tell you later. But get some Reiki on your computer and then your Reiki with your computer issues.
The right key?
The right key.
Right key? Right
Sure,
key or
the
right
Reiki or the right key. Sure. Sure.
And it's kind of like learning a new language.
Yeah.
almost.
It is a new
Yeah.
language.
For people.
It is a
Yeah.
new language. I
And-
know it's a new
And
language.
the awareness, it's not only the awareness of the knowledge,
Yeah,
but it's the awareness of the people that don't have good intentions too.
right.
Yeah. I
Well,
think
yeah.
that
Well, that's
gotta be
right. And
aware.
people use the English language in a really messed up way too, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
and you can use any language. Computers is a language. I grew up with the computers, so it's a second nature. Like I look at a computer program I've never seen before. I know how to use it just because I understand, just the system, how it would be working. So yeah, you have to start understanding the language, understand it from the root level.
Hey, Dan, I
Yeah.
have a question to ask you, but it's interesting. The computer can translate, right?
Yeah, translate.
For different languages.
Yes.
Okay. I have my website in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know English, my A was English,
Yeah,
and then my sister has a translator in
Yeah.
Chinese.
yeah,
It's a click it, my website about 10 pages. 2 minutes all translated in
yeah.
Chinese.
That's
I
right.
don't understand how you do it,
Yeah,
because the Chinese language so opposite to the
Yeah.
English language, right?
yeah.
Phrases are different,
Yeah.
right?
That's
Completely
right.
opposite. You can change translate it
Oh yeah.
accurately.
Oh yeah. You could completely get misinterpretations.
So what I want to say, that I'm a psychologist and some of my clients are having groups online
Yeah.
and they're then connecting with people all over the world who
Yeah.
have similar backgrounds and similar
Right.
things that they're trying to deal with.
Yes.
And that's, and then there are moderators who make sure that everything stays above board. and,
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. And what you can already do real-time translation. I talked to somebody who didn't speak English, and they were Japanese, and we had a full-on conversation through the conversation mode on Google Translate on my phone. It's amazing. But yeah, the grammar can get messed up,
Yeah.
and you can get really confused. Now, these technologies that are being revealed, the F-22 Raptor is a good example of a particular type of technology that can be flown based off of thought. And so military is always ahead with its brain technology. Your consciousness can completely control a device if it's interfaced properly. Just the same way that your arms, people are getting cybernetic arms that all you have to do is connect it to nerve cells, and all you do is brain mapping. Brain mapping technology discovered by like Ramachandran and that many people who are in the field of brain mapping. But that brain mapping can interface to a computer just as easily, but you have to figure out how to map it. So not only that, but just as that novelty about your heart rate, coherence of your heart rate demonstrates your state of consciousness. But that's just a linear method. There's other methods that show you through your facial muscles, through your aura cameras. They can measure biophotons 50 feet away now. So the technology is becoming there where you could put like a little colored light on your head that would tell you your emotional state, the type of feelings you're feeling. It can be your Facebook status. If you get the right technology, then part of the social networking will reveal the status, your current state of consciousness. Your friend, look at his Facebook status, it's all red because you're hurt, you're frustrated, you're confused, and so let's send love to that person that's got the red Facebook status. They go into the pool of meditation where we meditate on that person. So a new type of language is being revealed through just reading our auras through technology. I mean, the technology's there, it just has to come about now. It is coming.
Actually, you talk about meditation, right?
Yeah.
I read a book, they were mentioning about when people meditate positively, there's less crime in their week, in their
Totally.
city.
Totally.
Of course, that's like
Yeah, the
prayer.
Hare Krishna guys did that in New York.
Well, who was that? Washington D.C. Remember Washington D.C.?
Washington DC.
Yeah, for a whole month there was not one crime committed.
10,000 did it, and that crime rate went way down.
Yeah, who did that group? That was a really interesting.
Hare Krishnas.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome.
The one that's coming up, is that August 8th one?
That's going to be the biggest one maybe in the planet.
Yeah, what is that again?
August 8th,
Right.
Deepak Chopra is helping to have the world record for the most people meditating on healing the planet at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I hope I can find that again.
Yeah, that's August 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are doing that. They're doing that through the internet. They're getting huge
Right.
numbers of people all over the world.
Well, yeah, the internet is
And
assisting.
meditate on healing the universe or.
That's right.
All together. at the
Princeton
same
has a
time.
department that does that, where they're working on, they call it the PAIR, Princeton Anomalies Research, where they have a group of thinking. They're noticing that a group thought will affect the thermodynamics and the quantum structuring electrons, but it also clearly affects people in a very positive way. Really amazing. So I want to close our talk unless somebody has something else to say. Okay.
Enough questions,
There's going to be like
the
1,000
meditation
questions.
is, the meditation is like prayer.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
intention.
Sort of thing.
yeah, exactly.
Prayers up, blessings down. That's what I always try to remember.
Prayers are what?
Prayers up, blessings down.
Prayers,
What do you mean by
Up.
that?
blessing come down from
Yeah.
top.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, let's not be afraid of technology, and remember technology is just a reflection of our own ability. And, you know, may we remember our true abilities and use our true abilities for good. That's what I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.